got to go to the left.
Okay. I'm really confused by the whole mathematics, if you will, of negative environmental impact and positive environmental impact and net, neutrality in that area. And you say Perry can build, for example, a house that is environmentally, what was the word you used? Neutral.
Net zero.
Net zero. We hear about the negative impacts of human activity. What human activity has a positive impact on the environment, in your opinion? What human activity has a positive impact on the environment?
What human activity?
Planting trees.
Yeah.
And caring for those trees like my grandfather did. That has a positive effect.
Are you familiar with the term ecological footprint? Familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that the basic model asks people to look at their own ecological footprint, right? How do I live my life? I would rather look at a person's complete ecological footprint. So for example, someone who's working at the coal terminal could live a very, very green life. But the impact of their work world has a very large ecological footprint. So to answer your question, I'd want to look at the whole person and what they're doing for the environment.
Planting trees is positive for the environment. And forest land is expanding in industrialized countries, and it is being deforested in the poorest countries in the world. Where the free market is where people are planting trees the fastest, and where they're cutting them down the fastest, or where there's political and not free market control.
May I make one more comment? Because this really bothers me. This business with the water quality issue and how you got people out there dipping in the stormwater. I asked a stormwater person once because they were talking about the types of things that were bad to find in stormwater, and one of them was coliform bacteria. And I said, well, hey, here where we live, we get a lot of migration from Canadian geese, and they're always crapping in the water, and they're always shutting down some lake or another because you can't swim in it because of coliform bacteria. And I said, if wildlife comes and makes itself at home on your property, and you got this in your water runoff, how do you guarantee that you're not being penalized for something else that something that Mother Nature is doing? And the woman says, well, we can't guarantee that. So how do you address something like that?
I'll give you a really good example. I went to PetSmart the other day to buy dog bags, right? When you own a dog, you clean them after your dog. And they're printed on the bags, and these were fairly, I noticed the price had gone up. I'm like, well, why is the price gone up? Well, there on the bags is printed all these statistics about people who don't pick up their dog droppings. Well, how effective was that? I just bought bags to pick up my dog droppings, and you're trying to educate me? That's the whole point that we're getting to here, is if you're going to do something that has an impact. Do something that has an effect. I love the Lake Whatcom argument because, the one thing that we never studied in Lake Whatcom about phosphorus loading is the fact that Bellingham, the great protector of drinking water, actually imports water from another segment of a forest out there for their drinking water supply. It's called the diversion dam. And we only studied the effects of the immediate surrounding area in Lake Whatcom, but yet we bring in millions of gallons a day from a distant area, and nobody ever addresses the impact that that might be going. In fact, I'll tell you, Department of Environmental Quality actually forbids them from monitoring that. Why? Because the economic result, if it were found that Bellingham's import of water from the Nooksack into the Lake Whatcom Reservoir would be catastrophic to Bellingham.
That's why it's filtered in Park Lake.
That's exactly why it's filtered in Park Lake, and I can tell you when they clean that pipe out every year as they do, there is a plume that goes out into Lake Whatcom for a good mile. Now you tell me why we don't get to study that, but yeah, we'll go put monitoring stations on every single little home that's being built to make sure that storm runoff from your roof is being treated properly. It's political decisions. It's political decisions, and instead of getting rid of politics, what they're saying is, our brand of politics is better than your brand, you should come with us. And I don't believe it. You know what, I'll tell you what, I'll vote for this if you put me in charge of it.
I'm confused by your logic. So let's get rid of government. Local government is not okay, but we'll just let individuals decide and we'll have personal freedom? I don't quite get that.
But your argument's not for real
This isn't for
government,
individuals.
right? This is a bunch of vague causes of action that would turn over power to individual judges and to environmental legal groups that would get rich off of this. And the version in Spokane was more blunt, and this is sort of the bread and butter of a lot of these community bill of rights that would, what they want to do, and I suspect you guys would favor this too, is to say, that the community can get to vote on permits, right? So it really is, democracy becomes two wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner, right? I mean, that looks like government, but it's just totalitarianism. I mean, it's just another way to say, to the victor go the spoils, or justice is the will of the stronger, as Socrates ridiculed in Plato's Republic.
I still don't understand the logic here, though. So you're criticizing us for getting rid of the government, and you're saying, well, no, the local government is not a good filter. Let's have no government.
No.
Let's just have personal freedom.
When have we ever said no government? That's the only argument you can make, is this silly straw man that says get rid of all government. We've never said that. In fact, I've said many times that we need to deal with the externalities. The rule of law is predicated on a system of government that sets up those rules and enforces them.
Then
what you're talking
work
about,
on that. Please work on that instead of working on what you're working on. Get the externalities in place so we don't have to fight corporations the way we are.
But that's fine, but the answer to too much government is not more government, right?
I
The
totally
answer
agree.
is to put more power in the hands of individuals, not the community, right? So it's not no government. And we're not arguing no government. We're just arguing
So
rational.
what this is about is not taking power away from individuals, it's taking power away from remote corporate boards of directors who want to decide what happens here.
And putting it in the hands of some amorphous community.
No, it's not amorphous, it's the
It's
people,
us.
it's the people of Bellingham.
So you get, okay, so you,
People who
if
agree
you
with
decide that you don't like me,
No,
you get to vote.
It's
that-
a democracy, you ever heard of it?
Okay,
It's a republic,
great.
not a
So
democracy.
you get to vote. Okay, I
You
want to
never
make sure.
heard of democracy?
Okay, so you
It's a
get to vote.
You get to vote too.
All right, and if I lose, you can say, Todd, you have to do this.
That's the way our government's set up, it's a democracy,
No,
it's majority rule.
that's not. If you want democracy, the first thing you should do is repeal the first 8 amendments to the United States Constitution. If you want democracy as big D, democracy is my God, as opposed to democracy as a political process, right? Then repeal the Bill of Rights that says we don't care if you have a local, if the city of Bellingham, if the community in Bellingham wants to make Jews wear little yellow stars, that's not okay. The Bill of Rights says, no, you can't do that, right? We're not that kind of a democracy. And if you want to vote the community and decide we're going to just take property away from people who, don't have a lot of hair, the Bill of Rights, I think, says you can't do that, right?
I thought we were doing no ad hominem.
Well, there's such a thing as human rights, I mean,
Right, exactly.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
I'm not against
And you-
human rights.
All right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
democracy can't take away human rights.
That's fine with me.
But it can take away corporate rights.
I mean, the whole corporation, that is so funny, right? I mean, corporations are groups of people. Like the idea that you can just throw this word out and win an argument. Corporations, right? That's bizarre.
Can
They're groups of
corporations
people.
take away the rights of this dairy farm? Or can democracy take away the rights of this dairy farm? It was a corporation.
I beg your pardon?
Can democracy take away the rights of this dairy farm? They were a corporation.
They shut them down.
I mean, that's,
But corporations take away the rights of the individuals who work at them. People, when they go to work, they check all their human rights at the door. You don't have rights at work in this country.
No, that is absolutely not right. The rights. This is a common canard. This is a common canard. You have rights. That you have protection. If you read the Bill of Rights, and you understand what it says, right? You have rights that protect you against government action, because government is the monopoly on the use of force. When I go to work for my employer, I enter into a voluntary agreement with them, and if they say, we don't want you proselytizing at work, that's fine. Government can't say, we don't want you proselytizing on the sidewalk, or we don't want you proselytizing. That's, right, that's not government's role, that's not the democracy's role, right? But I can
But
set
it's
rules.
private property. It's private property.
I can set rules for my household. If I start a business, I can set rules for my business. And if you want to work there, I'm not going to treat you like a child, right? You have a choice. If you want to be treated like a child and have all your choices made for you, go down this road, right? But I think that individuals should be able to enter into contracts with one another,
But they treat
create
you like children.
corporations.
People that work at corporations like Maquila Doors right across the border, women get checked to see if they're pregnant or they can't work there. They treat you like children. You don't have
So
democratic.
thank God you live in America where we don't have those.
All the products get shipped right across the border to us.
So
There are
don't buy
corporations
them.
that are based
Run by
in
American
the
corporations.
Then don't buy those
The
products.
average corporation is a small business.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
The average
Don't buy those
corporation-
products.
The
Don't
Todd-
buy those products. Don't buy them.
Most corporations are S-class corporations, small, family businesses.
Yeah, and all